apparently I really needed to sleep through my alarm. Um, and I'm grateful you guys carried on in the tradition that this thing has a momentum of its own. So well done. Um, I was thinking about the word conflict and how different I think about these topics I'll talk about when I say tension. A steel beam can hold up a building because it has tension. Until it's under tension, it can't do the work. And so, how much tension it has before it permanently deforms is the tensile strength of the beam. So the steel is actually flexible and will recover its shape until it goes beyond the point of deformation. So tension is central in there too. Charles Atlas's course on building strength was built on dynamic tension and isometrics. Uh, in the courtroom, justice is uncovered as a result of the tension between the prosecutor and the defense. And there's an important distinction between truth and justice uh, in the courtroom, where they're not trying to find the truth except in the service of achieving justice about what can be known and what should be done. There's an extra piece in there where truth uh, is involved, but it's really blind justice with the scale and weighing and measuring and achieving an equilibrium that satisfies the law and the people and the needs of the moment. And I think about my exercise in psychological parts, and I can't even remember if we have done or have not done the house of trading exercise yet, but we will, in which you look at all the pieces and parts and how they mesh and what they do and how the roles are in support of the vision of that team identity. And then I think about how much better I got at trading when I was able to start thinking of the different people in the trade and the jobs that they had to do, and learning to adopt that perspective to do that job and only that job, knowing that the chief of staff is going to keep things running. So the visionary to have an idea, the draftsman to start, an artist to start turning that into shape, the architect to design the blueprint, the resourcer to get the stuff, the general contractor hiring all the people to do the work and manage the project. The scout who finds the setup, the young bold trader who walks point to get the entry, the fireman who comes in and saves the day by getting us to no lose plus dinner for two, no matter what else is happening, and then takes care of the chimp who is giving us early warning when walking through danger, but we don't let the chimp drive or decide which way we're going to go. Because the situations we found could go large in any direction. We know it's a compound critical state because the chimp alerted us to the tension that's inherent in the moment. So if you think about price discovery as what happens when buyers and sellers and their intentions are meeting in that open market, uh, and it gets into a sideways channel, you're seeing the tension of the buyers and sellers. And then when one side quits, the movement happens, you know. Or somebody new from the outside just comes in and starts chasing it. But when it's under tension and who's all in, who ain't leaving the fight? Well, that one wins because the other one stops selling because they got their, and then you get a sharp move the other. Well, that could also be, coming out of the tension, the sellers are selling until they're tired of selling. And then when they stop selling, you get the momentary pause. There's an emotional charge built up on all the other guys that were holding and suffering, and now they're right, and now they're coming. So you get this price movement is a function of how that tension in all the parties is shifting around. Who's all in? Who's getting tired? Well, all of that's an emotional state that triggers the actions that they take. You know, so Van's teaching on psychology being everything really is true because it's a psychological state of seeking not justice, but whatever the intention of every person who's in there seeking to find what they need to find in the market. You go into the courtroom and see the tension in order, and the outcome is the intention is justice of the system. Um, the market, I don't know if it's justice, but maybe it's happiness or satisfaction that no matter what happens, is the price goes to where everybody's satisfied that it's right there, you know, and it gets into stasis. But people aren't satisfied with the price right there, so they're going to move it around, either chasing it or saying. So you get this continuous flywheel effect of emotions driving that price, and it's in the tension between buyers and sellers. And the up and down of that market, in my view, is there's a force of gravity in there that wants everything to go to zero. Um, because when one side quits, the guy's running out of they need their money back, and so they pull out, and the price drops until the next person is ready to quit. Until it's at a point where they're just not going to quit anymore. There's long term buy and hold and belief, or whatever that is. If you look at something like Coinbase right now, which is down 85% from its high, is the crypto phenomenon just going to disappear like tulips? No, it is not, because you can actually find an economic function long term for blockchain instruments. Tulips, maybe not so much, except the momentary joy of seeing the thing. But so maybe Bitcoin's in a place where it refuses to lose. So as I think about mapping our strategies and patterns to those feelings, it very much is one of disinterested template fitting, saying, what does that raw material look like? And so Z3Ps are the thing where that it's extraordinarily not moving and ready to break, and and maybe there's a Z3P with increasing volume, meaning that it's attracting onlookers and there's a fight. Maybe that's what volume means. I've been struggling with how to think about volume for almost 40 years. I don't use it, but I'm aware of it. So I'm thinking about that. And then the collapsing dragon, if, to echo Tom's idea about if I have a bias, it's always to the downside because I think fear is stronger than greed, and it takes over first because of the survival instinct. So the speculative trader, I almost always associate with the long side. The true believer, the young enthusiast. That energy is what's propelling it higher. The accumulated wisdom of the dangers of the jungle is what drives the fear and makes that win. And that wins more often, maybe on a frequency basis, but the payoffs on the long side are compensate just enough in order to keep the game moving. So uh, I think the short side trades to me in a frequency basis, I'd rather 3 out of 4 times I'd rather be short in the position, which is also the same as learning to exit after a winning position. Because the longer I'm in the winning position, the more and more painful I find it because it doesn't feel natural. And so um, getting out too early is always easy for me. The reentry idea of the kata two is the one that gives me the sanity of dealing with the regret and now just the humor of saying, there I go again, getting out too soon. So I just get back in and get to feel dumb, but also get paid off when the kata 2 continues to work and work and work. So that uh, I'm not searching for truth in that. I'm searching for justice. If that was a courtroom, in a trade, I'm just looking for satisfaction and reconciliation that I'm resolving all of the inner tensions in a way that is good for the bottom line, and that's the measure of satisfaction. Is really what's the slope of the equity curve to me. That's what makes me happy. Is a smooth upward equity curve. That's where I'm satisfied that I'm doing something. The shape of that curve, not a straight line, but one that seems to be responsive to statistics. In that, if I'm statistically improving and minimizing the drawdowns, then the little waviness of that curve, that then it looks like the ebb and flow of the ocean currents and the tides, but with an upward tilt. If I do it that way, uh, at that's better than beta. The search for alpha with less, so better returns with less risk. So smoothing it out and tilting it up in a subtle way for the long run is the winning play. It's the repetition. Um, so that's what I think about the conflict and all that, and tension is that that's the essential human drama that's in the market. Why I think the psychology of this is so important, and see most of the exercises in the trading side of this course were really designed around moments of, for me, uh, profound psychological insights about the nature of markets, and stories of survival. That to me is kind of uh, the takeaway is, what is the story of survival that you tell? So far, so good. Um, and pretty soon, as you start accumulating stories of survival, you find out what is it that generates the survival instinct that contends with the hopeful instinct of seeking the land of milk and honey. That's where the tension is the survival instinct. The survival instinct is strong in us, and so that's where I think the other side of the trade comes from. And I'm trying to strengthen that instinct through good practice. While you can't not take the journey because you're going to run out of food inside your little fortress, except what happens to jump over the wall to feed you or what somebody else brings to you. So the survival instinct is not just pain avoidance, but it is pain endurance, um, on a journey of discovery to finding, sustainment and nourishment. Um, so those are the things that I contend with. And yeah, and Tom, as usual, sniff out the double secret hidden meaning of can you forgive the person for what they don't know yet, for not knowing? Well, well, yeah, of course, because uh, we're not. I almost said assholes. That would be improper. We're not bad people. But can we forgive the inner person who's representing that trader that has to take the action because they know that there's a survival instinct driving them to do this, to discover the rules that allow them to proceed. So, uh, my word for this week will probably be survival. So, thanks for listening. I hope.